Hi guys, my name is Lars Stender. I'm a writer from Denmark who specializes in fantasy and science fiction stories. Tonight here I'm reading for my fantasy book Mandigo and the Hellhounds. And if you want to know more about my books, you are welcome to seek information and check the link at the bottom of my Twitch. Mandigo and Hellhounds, Chapter 20. Mandigo oscillated between life and death for several weeks. The delirium ripped and tore at his tortured mind and body like vultures throwing themselves upon a carcass. The only nourishment he couldn't consume was a small mouthful of water and some drops of porridge every now and then. Most of the time he lay drenched in sweat, and the pus from the wounds which his demon had left on his body flowed heavily and had a sticky smell to it. Only Montero could stand being near Mandigo for longer periods of time, and only Montero's medical knowledge could keep him alive. The Lord of Bloodstone moved him to his own private chamber where he could better observe him. The lessons of the remaining wizard apprentices were modified, and Montero delegated a number of assignments to his assistants and even to some of the Dracoid officers, so that he himself would have more time to care for Mandigo. When the fever had left Mandigo's body, he fell into a death-like slumber that lasted for 3 days. Every now and then his conscious mind would rise to the surface like a drowsy whale that periodically sticks its blowhole above water to get some fresh air. During the course of these few brief intervals, he was unable to speak, let alone move. He merely blinked with his eyes and looked drowsily around him before returning once again to the dark depths of his subconscious. But slowly his strength started to return, and when he at one point had one of his clear moments, he saw Montero standing over by the fireplace with his back to Mandigo, his hands folded behind his back. Mandigo had no idea what time it was. He actually didn't even know what day it was. He had no idea how long he had been sick. However, he knew that something was wrong. There was something or other about the glow coming from the fireplace that seemed wrong to him, though he couldn't tell exactly what it was. For some time he lay staring at Montero's broad back and the blazing fireplace, and suddenly it struck him. The glow from the fireplace seemed only to reach one side of the room. The other side was left in the darkness that was so deep and menacing, and that it emitted a raw coldness that was frightening. Then Mandigo heard a whisper come from the darkness. It hit his eardrums like clumps of seething black wax that slowly corroded his brain. He opened his mouth to scream, but a crippling horror smothered every sound from his throat. The only thing he could do was lie as still as a mouse and listen, just listen, to the voice in the darkness that addressed Montero. "So the boy will live." "He'll survive," Montero replied softly. He sounded tired, but just barely. He would be marked by it for the rest of his days. "Of course," the voice in the darkness hissed indignantly. "That brat killed one of my most loyal subjects. You know the agreement. A life for a life. The boy took Hasrasal's life, and therefore he belongs to me." "You know yourself how important he is," Montero objected, as he turned towards the darkness, his clenched hands hanging at his sides. "And it is only for that reason that I haven't already sucked up the boy's soul," the voice in the darkness growled. There was a long pause. "Does he himself know how important he is?" the voice of the darkness finally queried in a more subdued tone. Montero sighed out audibly. "No, and I have any say in the matter he won't ever know." "That may not be up to you. I've heard that certain restless souls prowling around your fortress have tried to contact him." Montero cursed. "You mean the White Lady, no doubt," he mumbled. "But he doesn't know the truth. Not the whole truth, at any event. But she knows some of it, and maybe you can sense the rest. And the knight in the cellar? What if he decides to interfere? The boy isn't stupid. Just give him a few pieces, and he'll be able to put the whole puzzle together. There's no danger of that happening. The knight is locked in his sarcophagus behind several layers of containment spells. He'll never get out. The darkness let out a dry laugh. You always stubbornly claim that your brother never understood you. On the other hand, I don't believe that you ever understood him. If I were you, I'd get those chapters of my life out of the way once and for all. Certain things cannot be kept secret forever, no matter how hard you try. Please spare me your admonitions, Montero snapped. You bore me. Once again, the dry laughter came from the darkness that tore into Mandigo's soul like a piece of sandpaper. Very well, I will leave you for now, but remember, I expect to be compensated for my loss. See to it, and I don't get disappointed. You won't be, Montero assured him. The darkness took off all at once, and Mandigo felt such a huge sense of relief wash over him that he became quite dizzy, even though he was lying down. He uttered a few incoherent sounds and rolled to the other side. Just before entering another subconscious state of slumber, he faintly sensed his uncle approaching him. Montero gazed at Mandigo as he slept. He placed his hand on the boy's forehead and determined that the fever was gone. His evaluation of Mandigo's chances of survival had been correct, but that did not necessarily improve his mood. He was enraged over what had happened, and he was particularly mad at himself because he was well aware of the fact that he was mostly to blame for what had happened. But there was also someone else who had abused his trust. Tight-lipped, Montero left Mandigo in order to redeem a promise. End of chapter 20.
So, questions. I cannot be the only one here having questions about all this. I cannot. I don't believe that. So, as I, again, have heard a lot of the chapters, I have more insight on this than most people. So now we know there is a deeper meaning to how he's important. We don't know the full extension of this. And I believe, without knowing more, that now his face has some damage.
Yeah.
And this is what happened. We also now know he can hear demons. I didn't know it was a demon, but I just made you say it. So, hello, man. Do you have any questions about this? Okay. Exactly. We will just continue, and I will return to you as soon as we are done. So that was creep on. So that is creep on the other side. I don't know. I know you guys can hear him, but I can't. So I have a voice in my head, which means I'm schizo right now. I don't know.
No,
it's crazy.
Not beyond the normal. Your usual stuff.
So, if I can hear you, if you're lucky, I can hear you. It's not a sexy voice, it is kind of a tired voice, I must agree. Yeah. So let's continue the questions here, so we can later on close the stream.
Yeah.
So what is happening here is that we now know he can hear demons, and we also know that his uncle is conceding with demons. And we also know that all of this has been going on for quite some time, because he knows he's incredibly important.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen with all of this? Dum, 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 dum.
And what are those people that are being referred to? The White Lady and Knight in the sarcophagus.
Yeah. There's definitely something going on.
Yeah.
And right now I can't see shit for my cat, so she needs to just a little bit there.